Once upon a time, in the vast East African savannah, there lived a Maasai chief named Orisa. He was blessed with more cattle than anyone in memory, a herd so large it covered the plains near his village. The plains stretched as far as the eye could see, dotted with flat-topped acacia trees and distant blue hills. When Orisa's cattle were driven out to graze each morning, the sound of their lowing could be heard across the savannah and the red dust from their hooves rose into the sky. Bells clanged around the necks of the leading cows, and the young herdsboys sang songs to the cattle as they led them to pasture. Cattle are life for the Maasai, and Orisa's wealth in cows made him powerful. However, despite his prosperity, Chief Orisa was not content. His heart hungered for more wealth, and he became known for his unwillingness to share what he had with others. In Maasai culture, elders teach that all cattle are a gift from Ankai, the sky god, and that wealth should benefit the whole community. But Orisa ignored the counsel of the village elders. When they reminded him, "Our people must share so that none go hungry," he would simply wave them away. It was even said that Orisa refused to slaughter a cow for important ceremonies or to feed those in need, a stinginess unheard of among his people. Villagers murmured that the chief's greed was like a drought, leaving many with nothing while he had plenty. At a stranger's request one year, a terrible drought struck the land. The rains did not come, the grass turned brown, and the village's wells began to dry up. Desperate for relief, the elders of the community suggested holding a special ritual to call for rain. They asked Chief Orisa to donate one of his bulls as a sacrifice to Ankai during the ceremony, a customary offering to plead for mercy from the skies. But the chief refused, unwilling to part with even a single cow despite the people's suffering. It was in the midst of this great drought and growing despair that a weary old stranger arrived at Orisa's miniature village. He was dusty and thirsty from his travels. The stranger was bent with age, his hair was white as ash and his face was lined from many years of walking under the sun. Still, his eyes shone bright and kind. Some women paused from their chores and children peeked from behind their mothers to watch as this mysterious elder approached. Approaching the chief, the stranger leaned on his long walking stick and said, "I have walked far and have no water. Will you share a little milk or water with me?" Chief Orisa frowned, thinking of his dwindling stores. Reluctantly, he gave the old man a small cup of milk, barely a few swallows. The stranger drank gratefully and then held out an empty calabash gourd he carried. "Please, could you fill this for my journey?" he asked. The calabash was large, and the request made the chief scowl. Filling it would mean giving away much of his precious supply. One of the village elders stepped forward and softly pleaded, "Oka, respected one, our custom is to offer help to those in need. Surely we can spare water to fill a guest's gourd." Orisa shook his head. "I have already given you some. I must conserve the rest for my family and herd," he replied. A few villagers watching nearby murmured, displeased that their chief would turn away a guest still in need. The old stranger nodded sadly. He cocked his empty calabash and whispered, "Thank you for the drink. May Ankai bless your village with rain and may your heart be never empty." With those gentle words, the stranger departed, disappearing into the shimmering savannah as the villagers stood by, uneasy and disappointed. The gift of the calabash. The night was dark and quiet, the only sounds were the distant call of a hyena and the shuffling of cattle in their crawl enclosure. Orisa carried a small lantern as he checked on his herd. Chief Orisa noticed something lying near the gate of his cattle enclosure. It was the old stranger's calabash, apparently dropped and forgotten. He picked up the gourd, noticing its worn appearance. The calabash felt smooth and light in his hands, with a leather strap and a few faded beads adorning its neck. It was just like the gourds the Maasai used to carry milk each day, but now it was completely empty. He took it to his hut, deciding he would return it if the man came back. By morning, a wondrous thing had occurred. The calabash, which had been empty, was now brimming with fresh milk all on its own. Orisa was astonished. At first, he thought someone must have snuck in to pour milk, but his door had been bolted all night. A tremor of awe ran through him. This was truly magic at work. Orisa could hardly believe his eyes. He carefully sipped the milk. It was sweet and rich. The chief realized this must be a magical gift, perhaps from Ankai or a test from the stranger. Overjoyed, he called the villagers to show them the miracle. Many came running, marveling at the gourd filled with milk despite the dry season. The elders exchanged knowing glances, wondering if the gift was meant to teach a lesson. Children clapped their hands, and warriors muttered prayers of thanks to Ankai for this blessing. A few villagers, however, remained thoughtful, sensing that this miracle came with great responsibility. Greed and its consequence. At first, the people rejoiced, believing the chief would use the magic calabash to help everyone through the drought. Chief Orisa did distribute some milk to the villagers, but he kept the greatest share for himself and his herd. Each morning the gourd refilled with the sunrise, and each day the chief's greed grew. As his greed grew, the chief even tried to see if the gourd would refill more than once a day. Late at night he would pour out extra milk to empty it, hoping it might fill up again immediately, but each day it only refilled once. It was as if the gourd refused to produce more than what was needed for the day. He secretly dreamed of using the endless milk to trade for more cattle and riches once the drought ended, instead of simply sustaining his people. On the first day of the miracle, he allowed every family a share of milk. By the second day, he insisted that only the warriors and the very young should drink, claiming the village needed to ration the supply. Soon, he began storing most of the milk in big clay pots inside his hut. One evening, a mother with a hungry child came to Orisa and pleaded, "Please, my family has had nothing to drink. May we have a bit more milk?" The chief frowned and said, "I have given the allotment for today. We must save the rest." The mother left in tears, and others who heard about this were angered that their chief was being so stingy with a gift meant for all. Because the chief's heart was not truly generous, the blessing did not last. One morning, Orisa awoke to find the calabash completely dry. Not a single drop of milk appeared. He shook the gourd in panic, but it remained empty. Orisa ran to his best cow and hastily milked what little the cow had into the calabash, hoping to appease whatever magic was at work. But the gourd remained dry as bone. The villagers soon learned that their source of relief had vanished. Whispers spread that the chief's selfishness had angered the spirits. One elder shook his head sadly and said, "A generous heart keeps blessings flowing, but a selfish heart leads only to emptiness." Chief Orisa realized with horror that his greed had led to this, and Kai's gift was gone. A lesson learned. Stricken with remorse, Chief Orisa called the elders and the villagers together. He admitted his wrongdoing with tears in his eyes. "My greed has brought us suffering. I am sorry." The villagers were silent at first, surprised to see their proud chief bow his head. Then Mzitoho, the oldest elder, stepped forward and placed a hand on Orisa's shoulder. "We accept your apology," the elder said, "and we will work together as one family." A ripple of relief went through the crowd. They could see the chief was sincere, and so the healing of the community began. Determined to make amends, the chief opened his private stores of milk and grain and shared everything with his people. He invited all the villagers to draw water from his deep well and to graze their weakened cattle on his reserved pasture. Everyone worked together to save the calves and the children, and despite the hardship, a spirit of community returned. That very week, as if in answer to their newfound unity, dark clouds gathered at last over the savannah. Lightning flashed and thunder boomed as the first fat raindrops hit the dry ground. Women ululated with joy and warriors leapt into the air in their traditional jumping dance, celebrating the blessing of rain. Rain poured down, filling the dry wells and bringing life back to the plains. The villagers rejoiced under the falling rain, and Orisa raised his face to the sky in gratitude. He knew this was a sign that Ankai forgave them and that he had learned his lesson. In the months that followed, the land recovered. Green grass blanketed the hills, and the cows grew fat and healthy again. To celebrate the return of abundance and to thank Ankai for mercy, Chief Orisa decided to organize a great feast for the whole village. He even slaughtered one of his finest bulls as a Thanksgiving sacrifice, something he would never have done before his change of heart. That day, beneath the acacia trees, the community gathered for a joyful celebration. There was singing, dancing, and plenty of roasted meat and fresh milk for everyone. Orisa made sure the elders received the choicest cut of meat, and every family ate their fill. The people saw that their chief had truly transformed, and they honored him not for his wealth, but for his newfound generosity. From that time onward, Chief Orisa continued to lead with kindness and wisdom. He hung the once miraculous calabash in his hut as a reminder that a heart filled with greed will always remain empty. And to this day, around Maasai campfires at night, elders tell the tale of the greedy chief and the empty calabash. They end the story with this lesson: a person who hoards wealth is like a calabash with no milk, utterly empty. But one who shares freely will never truly run dry, for generosity keeps the blessings of the community flowing. Thus, the tale of Chief Orisa reminds young and old alike that in Maasai lands, as everywhere, kindness and sharing light the path to prosperity.